Stupid year, great music.
I feel like that's the intro. Stupid year, great music.
Stupid year, great music. Welcome to
And 22 and 22 is looking to start stupid as well.
Ugh.
It has. And with that, let us talk about what our albums of the year are here on Thunderdome Metal Reviews. You know us, you love us, you might hate us, but we don't give a shit. I am the Reverend Ben Lindsay. With me, as always, are Gabriel Cooper, Tracy, the Spreadsheet Newport, and the Dr. David Pizzo. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this fine third day of the year 2022?
God.
We are 1 year to the date from when we did our last one. And it is nice to be free of this.
It only feels like an aeon. So
it does.
Ready to drop this year like a hot potato.
Yeah.
Hot potato. So we're doing things slightly different this year because we have more people and there was not as much overlap on the lower ends. What we're going to do is we're going to give you each of our top 25s in alphabetical order of the hosts of the shows. And then we will talk about our aggregate top 10 list, as well as what other surprises Tracy put into the PowerPoint that I have not looked at. So beginning with my list, if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, you can see my list, but I will run it down very quickly, starting at 25, going to 1. Rob Zombie's The Lunar Injection of whatever the fuck it was, because it was a long name. Burning Witches, The Witch of the North, Nervosis, Perpetual Chaos, Cerebral Rot, Excretions Mortality, Anti, Ken Bard, Devoured by Oak, Red Fang Arrows, Carcass Torn Arteries, A Pale Horse Named Death, Infernum in Terra, At the Gates, The Nightmare Begins, King Woman Celestial Blues, Interloper Search Party, Carnifex Graveside Confessions, Artillery X, Hooded Menace that Frightened a Spell, and starting my top 10, Black Label Society, Doom Crew Incorporated, Tribulation Where the Glue Becomes whatever it was, Iron Maiden, Senjutsu, Gojira, Fortitude, Blood Red Throne, Imperial Congregation, Aeon, God Ends Here, 1914, Where Fear and Weapons Meet, God is an Astronaut, Ghost Tapes number 10 at number 3, and Hellas Apatrida at number 2, and my number 1 album of the year was Fear Factory's Aggression Continuum. I don't know.
What is I was just going to ask you a question or two. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
What is Aeon?
It's a prog metal album. I was not a fan of it.
What?
It's
it's the good prog that Ben is always talking
it's
about.
Bad prog. That album,
I knew there were some opportunities for Ben and you to fight, so I wanted to dig into his list a little deeper.
Let me pull up what I ranked it because I got that damn.
Also, I think you went the wrong direction. We're looking at Gabe's list now.
Yeah.
Do what?
Oh, it's been revealed prematurely.
Indeed.
I'm really offended.
We should be.
Oh gosh, what's happening?
The system has failed.
It has failed.
Did the spreadsheet take over?
The spreadsheet never let go. Took the spreadsheet take the wheel.
It did. Anyway.
Yeah, so Eon, but I had a lot of the same stuff.
It's actually black metal and prog, so that's why Tracy doesn't like it.
I'm looking at
the prog.
I have it. Okay, there's a different. It's Aeons is the album I listen to, not Aeon. Aeons. Mm-hmm. There's an S at the end. That's where it's like I don't remember.
Gosh darn it, metal. Why? What is Ken Bard?
That is like proggy folk metal
type. Okay. Fucking Red Fang. I know you all left that. I'm so mad at them, especially after watching all the TikToks about how ridiculous they're like. We're gonna record this in a dumpster, and I'm like, what?
That's what makes them so fun.
I know. At least you put Carcass above that. I'll take it. But obviously some of these we get towards the upper end, like Fear Factory and on Hellas, hell yes, 1914. Yeah.
So I was actually surprised he got as an astronaut rank so high on yours.
Dude, I love that album.
Yeah, you seem
all
to.
The good stuff from prog without the annoying singing.
That, though, I feel like we listened to it 30 years ago. Like, I know what it is. It was so long ago. It was early in the year. Yeah, I kind of like lyrics, but I get it. It was pretty. It was probably the best instrumental metal I've ever heard. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to pick at it a little bit, man.
No, it's cool.
Sorry, man.
Like Carnifex, I'm surprised. I'm surprised
talk amongst yourselves.
I'm surprised that Carnifex wasn't one that David got on his list either. I figured he heard it.
You know what? I may not have gotten to. There's so much metal, Tracy. I listened to a lot of metal, more than last time, not as much as you. And no, I think I did listen to that briefly, and it sounded okay. But at a certain point, I just had made my mind up. Like
It's
I
that-
think
It
pretty
was an
early.
okay
I think,
record.
It's that I think it's that step from death metal to deathcore that you're sometimes like, I don't know
yeah,
about
I
this.
think it's in my 50, but I think it's way lower down. I listened to it, and I was like, it wasn't. Yeah, it was metalcore.
So he had that Nervosa rocking pretty high as well, which is pretty surprising.
I got that up there too. That album rocked, dude.
He kind of, I don't even think I ranked it in mine at all.
Yeah, it didn't
No,
even
it
get an honorable from me. But I like that Crypta record that Ben
Mhm.
recommended.
I'm sorry, which one?
Crypta.
Crypta.
No, I heard that part, but I mean, like the didn't even get an honorable mention.
Nervosa.
Oh,
Yeah.
These two are cowards who do not respect Brazil's powers. So
that's fair, and not everybody's gonna like the same thing.
that's true.
No, I was just dealing with an issue in the domicile, so but it's all good. Any other questions that you want to pepper me with about my list? before we move
No.
on?
I'm good. Sorry. Just trying to make
I'm a
little-
conversation, man.
I'm a little surprised about Iron Maiden in the top 10, to be honest, but maybe I shouldn't be.
Maybe you shouldn't be.
We've
I don't know what that
also,
means, but
you're gonna see mine. It's Iron Maiden, man. Like I don't. Have you heard Power Slave? That's the real question.
for
Everybody
a band
drinks.
that is for
Everyone
that are around, yeah, for sure. And also for a band that has been around as long as they have, that does a style of metal that not really anybody does
Yes.
well anymore. I had no complaints about the album, other than it being a slightly too long.
I think him
So-
fighting through cancer, well, I know that doesn't just suddenly make it a better album, is hardcore as shit. Like that he is still, I don't, both at age and then having gone through that, I was just stunned. I got a record out with him.
Well, for me, I didn't put it on an album that on the list I'm gonna come back to, because if I want to listen to Iron Maiden, I'm not gonna listen to Senjutsu for it. I'm gonna listen to the earlier stuff. And so I was like, well, it's an all right album, but this isn't, it's just okay.
I'm
And I
the
think-
brand
Tell him,
whore.
Tracy.
Don't look
You
at me,
tell
man.
him.
You
I
tell
think
him.
it's that the same issue there is where you have this band that hasn't released an album in 6 to 10 years, and everyone's like, oh my god, new album. It's like Judas Priest was in 2018. Yeah, the first song on it was good, but that rest album was garbage. Now Senjutsu's, well, the rest album wasn't garbage, but it was just okay. It wasn't album of the year worthy. I feel like it's similar to Senjutsu, where it's
Well,
okay,
Ben did-
but it's not.
Ben did not declare it album of the year. He declared it the
Did
8th
not.
album of the year.
That's right. I don't think it's the album of the year, but I think it's a lot better than a lot of the stuff we listened to this year. Because if I look at my list, I think either Carnifex or Interloper is where albums that I graded an A or higher, or an A- or higher, stop. So
Gotcha. So, looking at your list, which was the album that was the surprise to you that you heard? And you're like, man, I wasn't expecting this album to be that good. I need to, like, what was the album that made it on the list that surprised you?
Carnifex. Just because I'm not generally a huge fan of metalcore, and that's effectively what they are. But I thought that was a really well done album.
Gotcha.
All right. So next will be
Ben forever.
indeed David.
Boom. So let's see. I have got Gizmachi in 25. That's with the vocalist from Soilwork in it. It's pretty good. I know we didn't review it. Cryptosis, which is, what would you call that? Tech death, Tracy?
Probably. I haven't heard it. So,
Yeah, it's tech death, basically. It's Dutch. It's good shit. Beast, fucking death metal. There's a lot of death metal on this list, and it's just good. Unleashed, it's Swedish sort of thrash death. Nervosa, I think Nervosa is good. Again, I don't think it's the album of the year, but I thought it was the 21st album of the year. I didn't like Iron Maiden as much as Ben, but I'm probably the biggest brand whore of all of you, so it's in place 20. Cannibal Corpse, because it's fucking Cannibal Corpse in 19. Brand of Sacrifice, which is like anime death metal. That album is awesome. I think I've talked to Tracy a bit about it. Rivers of Nihil, I liked that, I think, more than some other people in this podcast. I also like Product of Hate more than the rest of you. You guys were like, it's like an off-brand Lamb of God. I'm like, hell yeah, it's an off-brand Lamb of God. I mean, that was the issue. That's why it's here. Interloper was a surprise for me. That album is so good, and I think I like it even more now than when we did it. Ministry, I'm not even sure if the rest of you got into it. It's decadent and just totally insane. It's good shit. Cerebral Rot, I'm sure we're gonna see that a lot. Archspire, Tracy turned me on to. That's tech death and just tech as fuck. And then I have a lot of stuff, same stuff as Ben. At the Gates, 1914, Gojira, Blood Red Throne, Werewolves, which is more death metal. I apparently liked Zombie a lot more than the rest of you because I'm insane. I don't know. And then Anhelas Apatrida, 12-Foot Ninja again. I know that's just going to be me and Tracy up there. Mastodon, likewise, Fear Factory, but obviously Carcass. As what was that? Pitchfork? What was that ranking you sent me, Tracy?
It was like Pitchfork did one of those. We read the article for Metal Blade, and this is what they ranked as their top 40. So you can click on our link instead of theirs, so you know what they ranked. Kind of bullshit. But yeah, there was a couple that had our Carthus kind of ranked.
It was so fucking good. But I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that. So this list is probably not surprising to any of you. The end. Any questions?
I mean, we knew you were going to have a lot of death metal on it.
I mean, obviously.
With the territory.
I am stunned to see what your number 3 and 4 albums were.
I know you are, but I know you are. What am I? No, I think you would think that, but they resonated with me in ways that they didn't with you. And as you say, it's a very personal thing. Mastodon, I like more now than when we did it. And would I like it were it not for the unrelenting horror I've experienced in the last few months? Not sure I would, but I have. And it was the wrong album at the wrong time, Ben. And so it just sort of clicked. And 12-Foot Ninja, I don't know. Pierre loves it too. There's this Faith No More thing, which I guess we'll talk a lot more when we talk about Faith No More, that I think I'm maybe the most into. And I don't know. I'm Team Tracy. Tracy, I know, is into them too.
I think part of that is like you have the horror show that 2021 has been there the past 2 years in Hushed and Grim. And then you have 12-Foot Ninjas like, hey guys, we're gonna have some fucking fun. And it's just goofiness, and it's the other side of the coin, I feel like, where it's looser, it's offbeat, it's got this wackiness to it that I think provides a good like escape from 2021 instead of.
But only kind of, because the lyrics that are brutal, man. Like a lot of the shit they're actually talking about is so, even though they're Australian, I think you're right. I think the tone of it is very much a palate cleanser. Everyone drink. I know that's Tracy's line, but topically, thematically, it was the one about that sort of pillory Elon Musk. I just like this band more than certainly Ben likes it, and so you're allowed to be stunned. It was hard. I listened on Hells today. I'm like, perhaps this is number 2. I don't know. It's anytime I listen to one of these, I love all anything in the top 10 here. Shit, this whole list there's a lot of good music came out this year. I would certainly, any of these in the top 10, I would be willing to listen to a million times, and have in most of these cases. Blood Red Throne came out of nowhere. I just didn't know them. The rest of these don't surprise me that much that they're here. Actually, Mastodon surprises me, Ben. I didn't even like Mastodon that much before this album, which makes me a shitty Mastodon fan, because then I listen to the stuff you're supposed to like. I'm like, I mean, you heard it. We had a whole blast, y'all, about.
So would you say Mastodon's kind of the surprise album for you this year?
Yes. Yeah, I would have been very surprised if you should be like, oh, there's new Mastodon. I'd be like, oh, okay. And it's your number 3. I'd be like, what? Right behind Fear Factory? Yeah, that would surprise me.
Yeah. We knew for you, especially once Fear Factory and Carcass like, we're releasing new albums. Like, well, that's going to be his 1 and 2. Don't even.
I will die on that hill. Can I say, in the defense of Carcass, is just obviously the best album ever created in 2021. But not to get all buck on you, but Fear Factory, that album is so much better than that has any right to be. It should not exist. They destroyed them. It makes me sad, but god damn, is it good? I'm just stunned at what they were able to turn out, even in that shitty of a situation. And a lot of that, I think, is Dino just grinding it out, right?
It had
But
to be.
but
It's like giving up
nonetheless,
on the
the vocal
project.
without that vocal performance, even if he turned it in 4 years ago, it's not the same album.
Oh no, it's you're right. It's so much better than it has the right to be, and it sounds so much like classic era Fear Factory.
Agreed. I was very
So-
pleased. Gojira is another one, Tracy. I didn't like that much before that album. I just didn't know them very well, and I'd listened to a bit, and I was like, this isn't death metal at all, or thrash. So I wasn't that into it. But I really enjoyed that album. It was very roots, bloody roots. It was cool. And Werewolves, if you guys haven't listened to it, it's just badass. I saw it on Gabe's list, so I'm pumped.
It's really good.
It's so fucking good. It's the death metal I like most, actually. The death metal
That
I
one
like
is
Pure
most.
death
Archspire.
metal?
I haven't really listened to. I've heard some of the singles off
Sure.
Archspire, and I really like them, but I just never got around to listening to the.
I get
entire
it, dude.
album.
There were so many. Well, that's why we're going to provide a top 10. And none of us can compare to Tracy's thousands of albums. Tracy was ranking albums until 13 minutes ago. When did you stop?
Well,
You're
no,
still
that's what-
ranking them on the call.
No, the last album that I ranked, I finished it while I was putting the final touches on the PowerPoint.
You're a maniac.
And that happened to be my number, what ended up being my number 14, 15. I'm like, that's the adjustment I made. And I just finished that. I'm like, all right, this one goes here. And then literally, like, I saved the PowerPoint at that time. Like, all right, time to walk the dog.
Tracy, answer your question a moment ago. Werewolves is straight death metal, but it does make strategic use of samples, which I know usually annoys you, but they're very well done. It's not like dominant like Rob Zombie, but it's just a thing that's going on. And the cover art's probably the best of all of these, if we're being honest.
I got a friend who really had a werewolf kick there for a few months. And I think he really dug
good.
the album. So I may check it out. I've got a couple like I'd missed from 2021 that I'm going to go back to early this year and see.
I think you'd like Cryptosis and Gizmachi because of who you are as a person.
I was going to
Probably.
ask you, David, about Cryptosis because I didn't get around to listening to that one, and I see that it's ranked like 12 places below Archspire. So, like, what is the qualitative difference between?
I
those two
think
records?
Archspire sounds to me a bit more innovative, and the intensity of it is just a whole nother level. Cryptosis, I think, it's fairly standard tech death, a little bit industrial sounding. It's the kind of I love music like that. But Archspire, when I heard it, like blew my hair back. Holy shit! Like it's just. And then there's the whole thing about how they used it in the AI. It's the death metal they determined that lent itself most to extreme math, algorithmic production. So then there's a bunch of this death metal that sounds like Archspire made by machines. So there's that layer to it. And Canada, I don't know. It's just really good. It's so good.
I think with Archspire, because and we can get into this more. I'll get more into it later on mine when I talk about it because it does show up on my list as well.
Yeah, go off, man. It is some of the best tech death I've ever heard.
It is,
And I like, Deeds of Flesh and some of the stuff we've listened to, but this thing was a beast that I just thought was better. Cryptosis, I think that's their first album. I don't know. Archspire, is this their first album? Maybe second. I don't remember.
I think it's the third.
Third. Yeah, there it is. That's the sweet spot. Album number 3.
Let's see.
But that Cryptosis album is good. You should check it out.
It is good. Beast is good, or Beast. I don't know. Beast is also really good. I would argue all of these are good. I think you would. Did you listen to Unleashed, Gabe? Because I think you would.
I did. I think it would have earned an honorable mention, but it didn't achieve that even. I just liked too many other things.
Yeah, that happens, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that burn broke through very late, but I listened to the gym. I'm like, this is awesome. And there it is. Thanks, Sweden.
Well, speaking of Gabe,
Yeah.
let's get his list.
Okay, so at 25, I have Beast as well. I have Paranorm at 24. They're a Swedish prog death thrash band.
Did you find that on your own?
I actually found it from one of your lists, I think, Tracy, and I just
Okay.
took a chance
I
on it.
was wondering if you found it from that list or if you found it on your own because that's a pretty fun album.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Do you get paid, Tracy, if we
Well,
listen
it's-
to bands that
It's
you
kickbacks.
recommend? You seem very interested in that.
Well, I was
He was.
Well, they're not they've only got a few hundred
List
listens on Spotify.
supremacy.
That's fair.
But part of it is for Paranorm is they're the closest I found to another band who is on the list that we'll never play because the dude is a abuser to his wife and or ex-wife, I think now. So he's on the not going to happen list, and they're probably the closest I found in style wise to the other one.
Yeah, they're unlike anything else on my list, so pretty unique. 23 is Angelus Apatrida. 22 is KK's Priest. 21 is Putrescine. They are a lot of, Morbid Angel carcass worship. If you like that.
So David
Amun-Ra,
wants to listen to it now.
I know. I'm like, that sounds really good.
yeah,
Just
you'd
load
probably
up
like
the
it.
call.
I'll listen to it
And-
later.
I mean, you could argue that a lot of bands are just like kind of recycling or rehashing or updating, but I think they do a pretty decent job of it, and as do some of the other bands that kind of pay tribute on the upper echelon of the list that I made. Amun-Ra's new record is not kind of what I expected, but there it is. Ministry at 19, Malignant Altar at 18. They're like a bunch of other bands that made the cut, cavernous death metal. They're from Houston and on Dark Descent Records. At 17, Coffin Dust. At 16, Worm. Coffin Dust is like kind of death thrashy kind of stuff. Worm is a band that they used to be black metal, and they're from Florida, and they became a death doom band. It's really great. I'm getting a lot of mentions lately. Carcass at 15, Portal at 14. You guys will all get to enjoy that on the first theme grab bag that we're doing from me. Endseeker at 13. They're a really fun German death metal band. Really catchy stuff. Werewolves at 12. Evangelist at 11. It's sort of like a kind of an atmospheric, industrial, doomy kind of flavor. It's like a 45-minute one-track deal.
So Ben would love that a whole bunch. Just 140-minute song. Well, it's short though, right?
I mean, it's relatively short for Ben standards, and
It's just one song.
I'd argue it'll hold your attention if you're willing to go along for that ride, but just have to try it out yourself, I guess. We got Ophidian, that's a tech death band at 10 from Iceland. Sybaris at 9. They're doing some doomy Black and Death. They're from LA. We have Archspire at 8. Hyperdontia at 7, who are also doing cavernous death metal, and a lot to like if you're a fan of Morbid Angel or Incantation.
Yeah, it's a good album. I think it was in my top 30.
Yeah, nice. And of course we have Blood Red Throne, which wowed everybody. And at 5, I have 1914. Conjureth at 4. Conjureth again is channeling early 90s death metal,
Totally.
like Death and Morbid Angel. But these guys, the Morbid Angel worship is really more than welcome because nobody else is building an altar like this. It's like very heavy and takes a lot of strange turns, and I just really dig it. Mortiferum at 3. Again, cavernous death metal, reverby, vocals from the pits of hell. And the back half of the record is Stab You in the Back Half. It's amazing. And then at number 1, At the Gates with Nightmare of Being.
Death metal's going to revoke my proxy vote and give it to Gabe. There's even more death metal on here than on my list. There's some good shit on here. I listened to Conjureth as well. That one was good also. Sweet. Thanks, Morbid Angel.
I'm actually kind of surprised to see At the Gates. That's your number 1. Because I don't feel like we came out of that podcast, at least when we're talking about it, like if you having such a strong feeling towards it. Was that a later on
I didn't
occurrence?
contribute to that. I guess because I wasn't on it.
You weren't? I thought you were-
No, I missed that. That was the one week that I missed. And
Oh.
and so I listened to it on my own. And the reason why it got such a high mark for me was because, first of all, I think it's the best album for me in the sense that it coheres very well. It's a really good, solid unit of songs, and it's got a great atmosphere to it. The melodies really hook you, but it's still pretty heavy, and it has sax and flute on it, so that's pretty
It
cool.
does.
But
I'm
it
really-
would surprise me too. It just turned out to be one of those things that you spin a lot, but you don't really get tired of.
Yeah, I really like that record a lot. I listened to it a ton, even after we reviewed it. I'm still really disappointed in your inability, Gabe, to influence us when you weren't present. That shows a lack of commitment to the ideal, the Thunderdome ideal.
Then I might have had to pretend to like what's it called? Oh crap. The German guys, the German wankery.
Oh, yeah.
Apocalyptischen Reiter.
Die Apokalyptischen Reiter.
Jesus, man.
I think I burned that week out of my mind because we had King Woman, Celestial Blues, The Apocalyptic Writer, and At the Gates all in that week. And I was not a big fan of either of them, any of them. Like that's so yeah, I kind of burned that on my memory. That's what happened.
If that's the only week of 2021 you had to erase, you're doing great, Tracy.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
Speaking
yeah.
of Tracy.
Well, I was going to ask. I'm kind of surprised to see KK's Priest up there.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask about that too. Was that actually good? I mean, that song was fun. We listened to it together, but
yeah, I mean, I think it made it on there because it was fun and it came very late in the game for me.
Mhm.
Like I didn't really know too much about it until very late in the year. And it actually, it's worth mentioning that I listened to most of these records in the last 6 months, not in the last 12 months.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, yeah, KK's Priest is just fun. It's not necessarily something that I could say I'd be listening to 5 or even 10 years from now, but I enjoyed it. It was a nice throwback.
I mean, that you rated that above Iron Maiden is just insulting.
Well, the reason is because I would give it an A-, whereas Iron Maiden, I don't think I even gave an A-.
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
for sure.
I don't remember what you gave it.
I pretty much I gave it like a B or a B- because
that sounds right.
yeah, what can I
Yeah.
say? There were too many long songs on it.
For
And
sure.
they weren't that good.
I'm also kind of surprised that Angelus Apotrita was ranked as low as it was, but some of the stuff that you have ranked above it, I haven't heard, so I can't really comment to that.
Yeah, it's so tough. Like David was saying, and probably Tracy will say the same thing. Like this year for me, I found that there was so much good stuff.
So
that
much.
The stuff at the bottom of the list, it's not bad. Like Ministry is not bad at all.
Yeah,
and of
it's a good
course,
album.
I think it's one of the most timely records on the list. Like if you're looking apart from like
Mhm.
death metal and this the last 2 years being like banner years for death metal in terms of just like relevance, but like Ministry, they don't necessarily deserve place 19. It's funny because Ministry started out for me like I don't know, like 10, 11, 12 or something.
Oh,
But it
interesting.
got bumped all. Yeah, see what happened was basically that Cerebral Rot was a game changer for me because it sort of just helped me discover
Gateway
like,
drug.
it was kind of a gateway drug, but also just like it helped me figure out what was interesting to me about death metal, and also like it put me on the road to cavernous death metal, which is like a word for a thing that I didn't even know had a word for it. It's still not super useful to say to most people, but I mean, I think helps you put a common
Just
denominator on some of
People
these
on the
bands.
street, just say it to them
Exactly.
randomly with no context.
So a lot of those bands infiltrated the top 10, and that kind of pushed a lot of stuff back. I mean, Endseeker is so good. Like you could seriously listen to that 10 times in a row when you get tired of it, but it's like you can't put that at number 10 when you've got stuff like Archspire in the mix.
I feel my
Sure.
work is done here. Now that Cerebral Rot has laid to waste all before it, like that's it. I can resign. I can quit.
Indeed. Tracy, you're up.
sorry, my wife's having issues in the Tampa airport trying to get home. Apparently, they don't have enough workers, and they delayed their flight by 2 hours, and they're waiting for flight attendants to fly in to put on the plane to leave. So
That
it's a
sounds
mess.
amazing.
Shit,
Yep.
man.
Shit, dude.
So, yeah. So my top 25 for the year, I've got Frozen Soul, Crypt Vice. The best app descriptor I heard of this when I found the band was it's bolt thrower in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a very suiting one. You got Obscurers, Valediction. It's kind of melodic death metal, tech death. There's Carcass coming in at number 23, Cerebral Rot at 22. I got Mericognitum, Soul Paroxysm at 21. And then David's favorite, Red Fang Arrows at number 20. Wolves in the Throne Room, Primordial Arcana, good little black metal there. Number 18, we got some good, I think, some retro, new wave British heavy metal, Black Soul Horde, Horrors from the Void. I'll probably sneak that in sometime in the near future for you guys to check out. Honorable Gatherer Origin. This is a progressive death metal album that kind of really resonated with me. Fear Factories, Aggression Continuum. Whitechapel's Kin. This Swallow the Sun, Moonflowers, that was the album I was ranking as I was finishing the PowerPoint. That's a very doomy, dark, get you in the feels album. Ioton, Access All Worlds, proggy death metal, Anhalis Apatrida, Art-inspired Bleed the Future, The Runes of Beverest to Steel Grimoires, a 10. Unto Others Strength, Mastodon, Hushed and Grim, 1914, Where Fear and Weapons Meet, Chemist Deceiver at number 6, Brainstorm, Wall of Skulls. That's number 5, and you guys will get to hear that in our next recording session. Looking forward to your thoughts on it. Rivers of Nihil, The Work, Vola Witness. Number 2 for me is 12-Foot Ninja Vengeance. And number 1, surprise, is Between the Bear and Me, Colors 2.
Oh my God, Tracy.
For those of you keeping track at home, Tracy has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of his top 10 did not make my top
I mean, none of us is surprised.
25. No, I'm
mean,
just, the tally.
Yeah. I mean, nobody can really be surprised about that.
Actually, I guess it's actually 5 because I think Chemist was my 26.
Oh.
So
But
anyway,
yeah. Any questions for me?
well, what album surprised you the most out of all of these?
Unto Other Strength. I sent you guys a link for one of their songs, and they kind of check like this gothic metal sound, but it's just so damn
Which is
good.
normally something you don't like, so that's
I
really
know
Mhm.
it's just like it's so damn good. It feels like it's got what you guys always say led to new wave, right? Led to industrial. Like it kind of has like a new wave vibe to it as well, but it's so damn good. Like I sent it to you guys because I feel like if you guys would have heard the album, it probably been on your list as well. Like it's just a damn good album. That one really surprised me. The rest of kind of suit me. I got to come out 3 or 4 power metal albums on there. Surprise, surprise. And
I'm actually also kind of surprised that Mastodon is as low on your list as it is.
Me too.
so I can. That one is in our top. Well, I could tell. So Mastodon, I really enjoy the album, but like David, it's the wrong. I don't want to say wrong album at the wrong time. It's the right album at the wrong time, in a sense of everything. Like every time I've listened to that album, it's been when horrible shit has been going on in life, you know. And it's just the motif and what that album in itself deals with, and then going through similar aspects in my life as well during the times I've heard it. It puts it in that box where I really like it, but I don't know if I'm ever going to sit down to listen to an album.
I told you I'll probably never listen to it ever again.
Specifically because of
you're-
the mindset I'm in when I first heard it and what it reminds me of.
no, I agree
Well,
with
this is the travel time of year for those of us who were able to get out and travel, which not everybody was able to do. I understand, but I heard a lot of these songs individually as singles on the various XM satellite channels, and a lot of the times when they would play one, they had the guys from the band talking about the track before they would play it, and that made me like the album even less. Those assholes.
Good
anyway.
mention Mastodon one more
It's
time.
bringing it down for you, Ben, like
You
that.
just gotta bring it.
Just bringing the pain.
They are swiftly approaching Five Finger Death Punch territory, in my opinion of their character.
Oh,
Ooh, that's
that's
bad.
rough.
So,
For all that matters to anybody, but yeah.
yeah, so that's mine.
Well, if that is yours, if Tracy has no other questions for himself, or if anyone.
I just got some. Well, like 12-Foot Ninja. I was like, this is gonna be ranked probably top 15, but just similar to David, as I heard it, it's just such a fun fucking album.
That album is so good. I know only half of us think that. So, tis what it is.
It is what it is, indeed. All right. So next we have our honorable mentions. What is the definition of our honorable mentions?
So these, I guess, we had a long discussion about it before we started. These are the albums that were 13 with Rivers Nile, 14 Werewolves, or 12 Werewolves, and 11 was Gojira. These are the albums that where all of us, or majority of us, had ranked them to a degree, but they didn't crack the top 10. After this album, after the Rivers Nile, the next highest ranked one overall is my color is Between the Buried and Me, and so that's where I made the cutoff, because it's the last albums where we all kind of have a consensus of where we'd rank it, while it was still ranked relatively high.
Yeah, I haven't heard Werewolf, so I would expect that it would have been probably higher if I had gotten around to it. And I'm really surprised Gojira fell outside of the top 10, if only because that is the kind of thing that, in looking through, not that I let this influence me one way or the other, but in looking through other top 10 or top 25 lists from other metal media journalists and fans and whatnot, fan votes, it consistently was in the top 10, and usually fairly high. And although they are not necessarily my cup of tea, I was really impressed with this album. So I'm kind of surprised that the Tracy's of the world didn't have it higher on their list.
I had it number 38.
Whoa. Yeah, I had a number 7, I think. Yeah.
So I do have a question for you guys, though, before we get into it, and just kind of pulling it off the top of your head. What was a single track from this year that you really kept coming back to? Not album per se, but track.
Pushing the Tides, man. Ugh. That awful song. Off Hutch and Grim.
Oh yeah, that's.
Nah. Yep. Again,
I knew what you're talking about.
in few years time, I will never listen to it again, I'm guessing. I really liked Focus on the Work a lot too.
Yeah.
I don't think I had one.
Oh.
Not a metal one, anyway. I mean, I had some that I went back to a lot this year, but none of them were metal.
Oh.
That's fair. Oh, King Freak, man, that song is so fucking good. I think it's one of the best Rob Zombie songs ever. I actually had a list of songs of the year, but I was like, no one else is doing this because it's insane.
We did that.
Wow.
We
did last time, so I started doing it this time, but then no one mentioned it, so I quietly didn't bring it up.
Because
I
started contemplating making it and saying, hey, won't we do this as well, guys? And it's like,
Yeah, I had Pushing the Tides, that Rob Zombie song, Focus, and a couple others. IDK, that song's so good.
I've got Spotify, so I can check which songs came out this year that I listened to a lot. The one I kept coming back to is Drone Corpse Aviator by Arc Spire. That's that song that really drew my attention.
That is a great song. I did listen to that.
Great song.
And I think part of it is just his vocals, and like he technically has that death metal growl to it, but it's got that like chop rapper style to it as well. That just adds. I think that's what differentiates it between other tech death, is he can do the normal tech death growl, but then he also puts this like rap, like machine gun twist to it that just, I think, elevates it.
Then that drummer is bananas.
They're all bananas. Like it's
bananas. Well, it's ridiculous.
So while you guys, I thought of two songs. I got to find them, so I'm frantically looking on my Morning Star by King Woman. I listened to the shit out of that song.
Sure.
And then there was, what is it? Oops, not that band. David must have been thinking about Carcass because I typed them in. That's not what I was looking for.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
mean,
say.
Dance
anyone
of
can-
Ishtar, that fucking thing's a stomper.
Yeah, Dance of Ishtar was my favorite song of the year.
That was a
Yeah.
really good song too. That was my favorite song off that album.
So good.
Yeah, no, it really was. Pray for Peace by Carnifex.
Mm,
So
tight. Any song shout outs, Gabe?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do when I'm not listening to an album all the way through is just to kind of put a playlist on random of stuff that is just like I know I'm just going to be excited, by every time I hear. And like, sometimes the AI or whatever just picks stuff again and again, even though like you just like, oh, this
Indeed.
I was doing this last time, and it's like, it just doesn't. It's not truly random. So I ended up listening to some tracks on the Ministry record a lot, like Good Trouble,
Mhm.
came up a whole bunch of times. And I remember hearing Hero Antics from the Blood Red Throne album. I remember hearing where is it? Ended up hearing a whole ton of this one track on the Amun Ra record, The Evan Men's, which is really great. And whenever the Paranorm stuff came on, it was like I was really jazzed. I don't know, put me in a good mood.
all right. So without any further ado, the Thunderdome official top 10 albums of this miserable year. At number 10, a miserable album, Mastodon Special.
Well,
You could tell who voted for this one.
Definitely been a bunch of times.
it was Ben Shadow #1. That's what it was.
I mean, he said it's butt
Shit
metal
my
now.
shadow on number one.
It's
I don't
officially.
think it's butt metal. I will give them, they are much more cerebral than Five Finger Death Punch could ever be. Yeah, I said my piece when we reviewed it, but for those of you who, and you guys kind of have already talked about it a little bit, but if you had any more you wanted to say.
I mean, it is the zeitgeist distilled into album form, especially, as you all know, I then went into family cancer shit at the end of the year. So it just like was an unbelievable death spiral into the heart of this album for me.
Yeah. Yep. Nothing is. Yeah.
All right.
But
Gabe, do you have? I'm sorry, Tracy, I didn't mean to cut you
Well,
off. You
let
just said,
Gabe
yeah,
finish.
you were done. And well, Gabe didn't start. I was going to ask him if he had anything to say because I thought you were done. But if you're not done, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the aggregate score, but
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I was gonna let Gabe finish first.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say I didn't vote for this. It's because it's another one of the double albums this year that did not need to happen.
Agreed, Gabe.
Not my president.
Solidarity.
Actually,
not,
guys,
not my number 10 album.
I think
well, also just like it's like this year, it's like it's not even the end of 2021. It's like, we're basically still reliving 2020, and in that sense, our time is like a year that just will not end, and much like this record.
You're welcome, Tracy. If I didn't put this as high as I did, it wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, I put high as well, so. But
Kinda.
Kinda. Yeah, wasn't it number 8?
Yeah,
I think you did them dirty, Tracy. But anyway, they're here. Against all odds, I didn't think they were going to make it because I thought Ben was going to imply negative points.
This just proves that the system works. That a band that two of us didn't really care for made it to the top 10.
It's true. I agree with that.
So, what I could have ranked this, one of us could have ranked it 5 grades lower, and it still would have been number 10. because it has a total score of 41, and the next highest was Gojira with 36.
Out of a possible 100.
Yep.
So, for those of you doing that at home. Number 9, Cerebral Rot's Excretion of Mortality.
Talk about an album out of left field. That sound came out of nowhere.
It did. That was, but it's such a fun fucking album. I don't think it made my top 25. I don't remember now. I know I just talked about it like 30 minutes ago.
It's mine of your number 21.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I just really enjoyed this album. It kind of goes to Gabe's point about there just being so many good albums this year, but this was just so good and fun and completely unexpected.
Yeah. And just the fact that they were in on the joke themselves, I think really, really helped this.
It did. Just that stuff on Bandcamp. Some of the funniest shit I've ever read.
Oh yeah.
Studio is no longer habitable by humans for the next 500 years. This album art, by the way, and this font here, this is death metal font taken to its logical endpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, this album was
just,
surprise.
I was just gonna say I'm just tickled pink that this made it into the top 10. I'm like really pleased because it was just such a great and wonderful surprise.
It's good shit.
Yeah, it totally is. What was the aggregate score there, Tracy?
Well, I was going to say, as I was doing the grades, I was like, are we going to do this including so? Because I noticed everybody else had graded it, but I wasn't paying attention to the grades. And I'd seen it had been everybody's on the list before I tallied them up. And I was like, son of a bitch, is this thing going to be like number 1 somehow and just kind of fall forward into it? But it's still, it got number 9, which is still pretty good. It came in with a total score of 45.
All right. Number 8. 12-foot Ninja Vengeance.
Not my president again. Ben just deletes the podcast.
Well, everything I said about number 10 could also be applied to number 8, although I do think that this is a slightly better album than that one was.
Because it was shorter.
Yeah, it wasn't a double disc.
This album could have been a double album for me. Probably still would have been top 3 for me. This album was just...
I'm sad it's the end. Kind of.
Yeah, I know, because Ken's leaving.
2021 stupid.
Yep. At least, they were upfront about him leaving, though, and not like hiding it. And it's like, no, we're still friends. It's just creative differences. And it's...
What I really value in a band is 10 to 20 years of litigation and again, extreme bitterness and albums being delayed by half a decade. That's my shit.
Yeah, for real. It's like, you'd think that they're not American, so wait.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing they're Australian then.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't get to keep Betty White, we don't get to keep this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one barely. I'm assuming Gabe doesn't want to talk about this album. He just wants to move past it.
It was so
Well,
emotionally.
I don't want to yuck other people's yums, but I just did not think this merited even an honorable mention. But that's a taste thing,
Dishonorable mention?
It deserves it. Well, I'm not gonna I don't think there's a
less
difference
than honorable
between
mention.
I mean, I like this kind of music, but I don't think that the combination that they're attempting here is actually working well, or it's not something that I would gravitate toward. I would rather listen to straight up dance music, or straight up kind of pop music. And that's just a personal thing. Anyway, some people want to party with their metal. Some people listen to, I don't know, Andrew WK and get their rocks off. That's fine with me, but I'm not going to necessarily be there.
Okay, well, what's the aggregate score, Tracy, or did you already say it?
A whopping 46 to beat out Cerebral Rot by 1 point.
1 point. All right,
Them
number
is the
7,
six.
Carcass, Torn Arteries.
Mm-hmm. And this is the second one that all 4 of us has ranked.
Hell yeah. Well, it was good.
It was.
Not as good as maybe I thought it was, but
Yeah. Well, at least your number 1 made the list, at least, David.
yeah, fair enough. It's because my number 1 is terrible. I'm just kidding, but for real.
Yeah, actually, looking at it, mine is the only number 1 that did not make the top 10.
Well, that's what happens when you choose between the colors and me or whatever.
That
Between the
proves
Bears
this.
and
I'm going to quote Ben. That proves the system works.
Yeah, it does prove the system works. Yeah.
me.
The funny thing is, that's the only one from like my hometown, but that made me sad, mad. Anyway, we don't. You can listen to that podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
No, and as far as this album goes, this is a very good album by a legendary band. So I mean, how can you? Yeah. I don't think that there is anybody that is upset with this being in our top 10. Could be wrong.
I don't think there is.
Cowards. This cover is also very intense. Like I get it's just vegetables, but shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It reminds me of there's all this crazy stuff with like the German emperors made of vegetables and shit, like this kind of art from the 16th century. We don't have to go down that road. But anyway. It's
It's fun. It's a nice little homage to the
Totally.
So I was just looking at it. This is technically 6A or 6B, and the next one's going to be 6A because they have the same score. And I just now realized it at 47.
Oh, well, then put this one in 6. Obvious. I'm just kidding. That's fine. 6 and 7 are tied. I'll take it.
Wait, does that mean that Gojira is actually in the top 10?
No, because you don't do, so this is tied for 6, and we're going to do start
No?
at 7. No, you start at 8 after that.
Sorry, I don't know the rules here. I'm just kind of a rube walking into this operation.
Just an unfrozen caveman. You don't have to.
Your world frightens and confuses me. The best part is, Gabe, we're just walking into it too. It's
That's
just,
right. Yeah, I
it's
couldn't tell
Tracy's
you what the
world, we
scores
just-
of any of these are. So
We just live in it.
okay, so also tied for 6th place. Never mind our graphics. Archspires, Bleed the Future.
Yeah.
So if Ben would have listened to this album, it probably would have been.
Yeah, because everything that I've heard off of this album, I really, really liked. I can remember me and Gabe talking about these either in the chat or while waiting for other people to join one of the other album review podcast recordings. And I was very enamored with everything that I heard. I just never got around to listening to the entire album. And I honestly don't know why.
This album cover, y'all.
I
It's the
just,
biggest I've seen it.
I just now noticed that's a hand reaching out of the mouth.
Uh-huh. Sure is. It's gonna choke you, just like the future is.
And that album, it's insanity. It's wonderful. It's
I think it and Carcass belong in a similar tier. I'll take that.
I think part of it is this album is it's just a sheer technicality and precision that everybody performs that you're like, how is that even humanly possible?
Yeah, I haven't heard the whole thing, but it kind of reminds me of Megadeth's God damn it. The
Rest in
one
Peace?
after. No, the one after Rest in Peace.
Countdown to Extinction.
Thank you. Yes, Countdown to Extinction and just the precision that is played.
It reminded me of Igor. Do you all listen to that French thing? Do you even know
I've
what
heard
I'm
a few
talking
albums
about?
of theirs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So intense. Just
No,
that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, we have to watch some videos after this, Igor. Well, you're in for a
It's-
treat, Gabe.
It's so insane.
You're welcome. You'll see. I thought we watched some of that together. I guess not.
I think it was pre-game times.
Yeah, let's do it. Anyway, what was the total score for this in Carcass?
47.
47. Tight. That's still a failing grade.
Indeed.
And now I don't think the next two albums should be on this.
Number 5, At the Gates, The Nightmare of Being.
I like this record a lot. Gabe really liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
I pushed it over the top, I think.
For sure. And Tracy's really happy about it.
You could
He
try.
just draws a line through it and puts between the
I
buried.
mean, this
and
had
made.
saxophone, Tracy. What more do you want?
For it not to be ranked 87th on my list.
87.
87. Good lord.
But that's about where I would put between the buried and me. So I can't make. I mean,
I don't
that's-
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Between the Buried and Me would be like on the floor rather than. on
yeah,
this
it was not. It
list.
was not in my top 50. I gave it like a C or a C minus. I don't remember. It was a C, I think. Yeah, it was nowhere near. Anyway, we all have different taste in that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it was a bad
Okay,
album.
but this is a great album by a legendary band, right? I mean, because At the Gates
Right.
is foundational to
Yeah.
a lot of what Tracy likes, actually. Interestingly,
Just not enough glockenspiel.
I think we lost David.
not enough. We got no deal.
That's interesting.
Am I still here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
All right, I'll just go off visual for a bit. My internet's dragging. Apologies. I simply
worries.
said if it ain't got glockenspiel, we got no deal. But
That's right. And did you give the aggregate score? There was some more domestic stuff.
No, I was just saying I don't dislike the album per se, but
It's just
not the biggest a fan of it. It's for me, it's just good.
It's just the 87th best album of the year, according to Tracy.
It is just the 80s. Now, granted, that number probably that of us do new albums is sitting around 300. So,
Right.
But it came in at a score of 50.
Fide. Number 4, Blood Red Throne, Imperial Congregation, was just probably, I mean, it ranked really high amongst all of us, but I think none of us were expecting anything from this album. So impressive showing by them.
yeah, I didn't know this band and should have. This album is so good.
This is another album I missed the boat on.
Yeah, I had to.
Well, I mean, like I didn't rank it.
I thought you liked it when you listened to it.
It's
He-
okay.
I
but
think he
it's
did
that-
like it, but he wasn't like super excited about it.
So
What is
it's
this? What is this place? 187? Where's this on your
No.
list?
75 or 76.
Jesus. Yeah.
So
sure.
for me, what it is, it's just a pure death metal album. Pure death metal, no changes to it. So you've got the meat there, but I needed some like other sides with it besides just steak. I need some potatoes and mac and cheese. some
Glockenspiel.
greens.
You're saying Glockenspiel.
Well, he needs
I need something
glockenspiel.
more than just go death metal.
Sometimes you just need the pure serum, Tracy. Like that's the only way you're going to survive 2021. Is death metal in its purest, most cavernous form.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, this record has really got it all. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, in my opinion, you know? It's like these guys are like 10 albums and 20 years into the game. They know what they're doing.
They reminded me of Vader,
Yeah.
just in that like European workhorse that didn't quite ever make it over here. But when you listen to it, you're like, God damn, son! Like they just, they've been doing this, as you say, for decades. So, and also shout out for that font. That font is tight.
It is. That is like right on that edge of being unreadable, but still being
Yeah.
able to decipher.
I like
Very
it.
good job with that.
Good album cover.
Came in with a score of 58.
Oh,
Top-
we're-
Nice.
shit. Number 3 might be passing. Fear Factory, Aggression Continuum.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. And like you guys said earlier, this album had no right being as good as it was.
Should not exist. Should not exist. Period. Litigation pending.
They're going to sue us for just using the picture of it.
I was stunned how good it was because I kind of didn't think it necessarily was going to be, given all I'd read. Part of it is I think I just soured on the phenomenon listening to them just shit talk each other.
Yeah.
But listen to it. Behold, its robotic majesty.
It's a very
mean,
Gundam
it has-
cover.
It held up really well as I came back to it throughout the year and just it really overdid itself.
It actually wasn't my number 1 until like the day before I put my stuff up. It and Hellas Apathrita were battling back and forth.
Get that. I'm not gonna lie. Tracy called it earlier. I'm like 25. Okay, so Carcass is obviously first and Fear Factory second, and then I started ranking below that. I'm a dick. What do you want to say? I'm like the biggest brand whore of all of you. Sue me.
We know, David, as your license plate above you on your right states.
It matches a shirt this time, though.
I
so.
know.
Yeah, it does. This is one where the Koreans are setting police on fire. This is that's from my first show. in
Nice.
1993 with them, Prong, and Fear fucking Factory.
Boom. The circle is
Oh
now
wow,
complete.
that sounds like a fun show.
Yeah, now the circle is complete.
So that came in at a 59, so it just barely edged out.
That's not even a
Wood
passing
River.
grade. Can we give them extra credit? Like, I feel like they should pass Thunderdome, the class.
I think if they're in their top 10, they automatically pass, no matter what the
Yeah.
grade was. We were
That makes
benevolent.
sense.
It's a pass fail.
Exactly. It's a pass-fail class.
Yeah.
Yep.
You win for showing up.
You do.
Exactly.
Attendance counts 100%.
You win for showing up and bringing it, and I think this album brought it.
I do too. You got anything you want to say about it, Gabe, before we move on?
I didn't give it as many spins as y'all did, but it's not my cup of tea, but also I just don't know the band, so it's not necessarily the best place to start, I feel like.
That
That's
is
fair.
probably true. Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, if you were just getting on the ride here, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Because
Because there's all kinds of backstory and like
For sure.
their own mythology that they're building on with this. So
Yeah, because as much as I
Right.
say, like, I didn't like Mastodon, I didn't, but I started listening to like Steam Breather, and then we listened to that, what was the one the other day, in the Oblivion or whatever. So I like had
Crack the Sky.
something. Yeah. I heard a bit of Crack the Sky, but so I was not coming completely cold. That would be hardcore. Can you imagine if Senjutsu was your first Iron Maiden?
yeah, no, that
So
would be
confusing.
unfortunate. I mean,
Very-
I like that album.
I do too, but what? But it's not Power Slave.
And it helps you give
Which-
us the crash course about 6
Wait,
months
wait,
prior to
that wasn't my
this.
first one. Power Slave wasn't my first one, but it sure as shit could have been, because it was just amazing.
It's so good. So good. I don't know if you guys have heard it.
Power
No,
Slave?
I've never heard of it, yeah.
Never.
No, we should review it sometime.
Again.
Again.
Yeah. Well, Gabe, you can go back and do remedial studies on Fear Factory and do the blast we did.
Yes. You get your degree in Fear Factory studies, Fear Factoryology, Fear Factory.
Pick up the minor in it, just do those 4
yeah.
albums, and that's what we did.
That's it. I have to
That's-
confess, gentlemen, I have no fucking clue what are in places 2 and 1. I have no idea.
I think I have an idea what's in one.
I don't, because we're like all over the place. Like, we're
It might be
converging.
two, actually.
No, I'm tense, man. I got
Well,
money on this.
money.
Let's see what the
Oh,
money
wow.
brings.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course. Of
And
course.
Hellas Epitrita.
Yeah, that's
number
I
2.
almost flipped it with
I'm shocked
Ninja.
that this ranked higher than Fear Factory,
I
which
think
ironically was my original ranking, but I switched.
So-
exactly.
so. Here's the math behind it.
Uh-huh.
Everyone, get out your pencils.
Get out your
Calculator.
show your
So
work.
just
Incubus.
so just me, Ben, and David listened to Fear Factory and ranked that at 59.
Sure.
All 4 of us listened to this album,
There it is.
and Gabe ranked it at 23. So Gabe gave it 3 points higher to 62. So effectively, if Gabe had not listened to this album and ranked it, they would have been tied at second. That is what brought the tiebreaker up. Is Gabe's put his thumb on the scale a little bit for Untitled Chapter.
He likes Europe.
Yes.
I like this record, and it's just a shame that I just didn't have the whatever it was to get it higher on my rankings. But I think this is the lowest I would have ranked it at. At 22. It's not, doesn't deserve any less than that.
So
I'm a whore for thrash, just the way that David is.
Totally.
A whore for death metal, and this was perfect thrash. So I was just like, hell
I
yeah,
mean,
It
it's
is.
the best
Yeah, it's
thrash
great.
album for the year.
I think so. There were some
And-
other good ones, but this one was.
Yeah, like Artillery. You and I both had them on our.
Yep.
Yeah, but this was better. This was just killer.
Yeah, and thrash is that Venn diagram where all 3 of us overlap.
No, agreed. Can I also point out that this compared to Exodus? I love you, Gary Holt, but just because I went back
Yes,
and listened
well-
to that a little bit, I was like, huh.
We also agree with them a little more politically than we do with one Exodus.
Yes, that is very, very, very accurate.
So
I mean, look at this.
yeah, I am all about that album cover. That's one of my favorite album covers of the year.
So
There's so much going on there.
There is.
Speaking of album cover, this is the first time I've seen it as large as it is. There is a phonetic spelling for Untitled Chapter
Yes.
on the case. I didn't
Oh,
know
they-
that.
Yeah, like a dictionary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
No,
know it until just now, and I'm like, oh shit.
they know that us Anglos don't speak Spanish
The
very well.
Brits are as bad as us, man. They're
Yeah,
almost worse.
no.
Like, right? Like any English speaker is like, what?
Yeah.
Good old Angelus.
Uh-huh.
That's
You
my
see, though,
boy.
with us, it's just ignorance. With Brits, they do it on purpose.
Angel US. Angel
Yeah.
US.
Yeah, that's it totally. Angel America Apatrida.
America Aperture. Hey. Live my best life.
Oh man.
So many
Yep,
Mausers.
This was number 2.
So many.
So you,
So many Mausers. And the devil under the table.
With holding a matchstick and a
Yeah.
razor blade. I think it's a razor blade. Yeah, anyway. Well, here it is.
well,
Drum
hold
roll,
on.
please. Oh, I'm sorry, Tracy.
David, what do you think it is? If you had to
What-
put money on it, what would be number 1? Because I think
Oh,
Gabe and Ben have looked at the
I have
sheet,
not
so
the
they know.
slightest clue. I'm baffled because anything I would have guessed, we've already gone through. With the minute I see it, it'll be like, duh. But I have no idea. I have no idea, Tracy. None, zero.
You'll like it.
Brr.
It's good. It's going to be between the buried and me, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. How could I forget? This album deserves the win, though.
It does. It was so good.
Deserves the win. Where
mean,
history
David-
and death metal meet.
The lowest ranking it came in is number 9. That was you.
Well, there was other
So-
stuff. The year was crowded. I
It
like
was a
this
very
album.
crowded year.
I maybe like the last one we listened to a hair better. But
I
they're
did too, but I think it was because it was where I got on the ride, and we talk about that a lot.
Same.
So
Yeah, I was comparing this to that. And that, remember, I was experiencing that during the centenary. Like I was in Germany and that shit was intense as fuck.
Yeah.
So it was just a whole different thing.
But I mean, who else would have suspected? We're a podcast that has 2 historians, a guy that deals with history a bit, and a PhD in German, wouldn't rank a band cosplaying as World War One as if living in World War One.
When you put it like that, Tracy,
that makes it sound pretty bad. I think they would take offense to the term cosplay.
They were.
LARP. Okay, let's call it LARPing.
That's
I don't know.
I think that's worse.
I picture them out in the field doing like battlefield archaeology and shit. These guys are
Yeah.
so intense. I feel like it's beyond LARP.
Yeah, it's way beyond LARPing, but also just like, I don't know. LARPing makes it sound much less harmless in a way
But,
than
but-
it could be.
well, think about it this way: if we were going, hey, let's make a band and we're going to write about what we know, what would it be? Probably something to do like 1914.
You have to admire their commitment too, because
Agreed.
it's I mean, by some people's definitions, I think you would call them a concept band that makes concept albums every single time they're
Agreed.
getting in the studio. And that's pretty impressive to carry on, and to carry on for even a few years at a time. And they're gone on, I don't even know how many years but like
think they're-
what's
4 full-length albums in. I think The Blind Leading the Blind was their 3rd one.
It might have been this. They had one before that was not on a major label, which was Blind Leading the Blind, was not released on a major label, but was picked up by one. Because they had Eschatologies of War before that. And then I think they had a split. So it's either their 4th full length of their career or their 3rd.
So they have, let's see, they have 5 full-length albums. It's just looking at Spotify. The Eschatology of War.
Now one of those is an EP.
No, they're all 50 plus minutes. I think that kind
That
of,
doesn't mean anything, but
and Spotify has them all listed as albums.
I want a single track, 45 minutes. That's nothing but Messine Ridge, the second half of the battle.
nothing but tinnitus.
yeah.
Exactly. Whee! I was so mad when they did that shit.
Oh, so for Kaiser Folk in the Fatherland, and has Strauss Troop 1917 as well. So I think that's the double
Yeah, the split.
It's got demos and stuff on it, but they also have Ich hat einen Kameraden.
I had a
I'm
comrade.
butchering German.
You are, but that's okay. We love you. Do you.
Yep.
Gabe and I only cosplay German, or we LARP German. We don't speak it.
I just play a German on TV.
I play it German on television. Fernsehgerät.
On der telly.
On der telly. That's going great, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, this is our #1 album, and it's really good. You should listen to it. And all the others. You may not like them. As you heard, there was some dissension in the ranks. But as Ben said, that proves that Thunderdome's democratic system works,
It
right?
does. Unlike a lot of other democratic systems in the place where we live.
Oh, yeah, I was
But,
going to say, yes, that's accurate. That's
Yes.
Any other?
But yeah, no, I
parting-
think that's a great selection for #1. I have nothing else to say.
So
Yeah.
this one on House, I'm sure it had 62. This one has a 78. So we all could have ranked this album
Oh,
4
shit.
points lower, and it still would have been the highest rated album.
I
So like
believe
this is just had it showed us. I think the only one that would have challenged it would have been Archspire if they would listen to it.
That's probably true because I really, or Werewolves if I'd listened to it.
Yes, those
But
two.
I didn't listen to Werewolves either. So
Sure.
Hmm.
No, I don't know that it would have challenged for #1. I just mean like breaking into the top 10.
yeah. But yeah, I mean that's
It's a commanding lead. It was tighter last year, wasn't it? You
I
do not have to
believe
look at the
so.
spreadsheet, Tracy.
you have to look at
Before
the
you
spreadsheet.
give me a second. He pulls it up and let me graph it. You don't have to do that, but I feel like it was a little tighter than that. That's a huge lead between 1 and 2. But this album deserves the win. I repeat, as Ben said, it's good.
Well, last year we only just the 3 of us ranked 4 albums together, and the rest of them was 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here.
Mhm.
And so it ended up being #1 was Kill or Be Killed with 68. 2 was Black Crown Initiate with 67. Lamb of God was 65, and Onslaught
Yeah.
was 63.
But that's
So it
way
ended up being-
tighter. Yeah, it was way tighter.
You also hadn't had a full year of
I had not.
doing your own thing as well, I think, with it. So I think that played a part in it.
Yeah, the first half of the year I listened to nothing but Slayer.
That's one shit.
And then you joined the metal wagon, and we just kind of took you along for a ride.
Well, I want to thank everyone for chiming in and visiting us during this time to hear what our favorite albums of the year were in Metal Land. Let us know what you think. If you think our albums suck, if you think we suck, whatever, or if you agree with us. And we thank you for listening to Thunderdome Metal Reviews.